Yo, what up? It's Aaron Moses, gang. Now, this video is, of course, entitled Big Dreams. What to do when you have big dreams, when the homies have big dreams? I'll say this number one, when the homies have big dreams, support. It's not your job to enlighten them as far as the negativity that could happen, even though you might be doing it out of love, and that's your form of support. You might have a homie like I do, like everybody does. They always want to have some big, get rich quick scheme every other week, every other month, twice a year. And then you're going to have that person who has a couple of them, or they might be saying they've been trying to open this restaurant or been wanting to open a restaurant for the next or for the last 5 years that they've been talking about the same endeavor ever since you were kids. Bro, I'm gonna tell you this, bro. I've always had this one person in my life. Every time I tried to do something, they felt like it was their duty to enlighten me, to give me knowledge, give me information of all the negative, bad things that could happen. Sometimes it looked like, they were not being supportive, or they were trying to shoot me down, or they were not in support, or they just did not want me to do that, or they were scared for me. And I just broke down one day and I was just like, every time I tell you I'm trying to do something, it seems like you just want me to be a regular person. Like, why do you do that? And that person told me, I just don't want you to go into this endeavor blindly. I don't want you to get your dreams shattered. I don't want you to get your heart broken in this situation. And I was just like, just let me rock out. And because of that person, I'm thankful. When anybody told me they wanted to do anything, I never gave them a forewarning. I can't even say never. I will rarely give them a forewarning. But what I would do is, as I grew, if I could send them some books to help them, some links, some information, not trying to keep you grounded, not trying to say you have your head in the sky, you don't know what you're doing. Because the one thing that I do regret, the homegirl Mandy, when we were younger, told me she wanted to go to school to be a nurse and to go higher than just a regular nurse. And shout out to all the regular nurses. That's a very good job. I'm not saying that that's something that's just at the bottom of the totem pole. That's a very great career. But I told my homegirl the same thing that same person told me. Like you couldn't even be a high school student. You couldn't even do the regular public school thing. How are you going to be able to be a good student where you have more freedom, where there's more challenges, where it's a lot harder, and you have to be more disciplined, you have to be more dedicated, you have to be scholastically a better person. You can't just go in there expecting that you're going to be good at it just because you feel like being a nurse. And I regret it now. She is doing her thing, and I'm glad that me giving that negative energy to her, like that person gave me, didn't affect her. I don't know if it affected her, but the outcome was still some income in her situation. And I will say this, when anybody tells you anything, just like AMS just said, shout out to AMS, when anybody tells you anything about having a big dream, it's gonna sound weird. It's gonna sound foolish. It's gonna sound something that is outside of their grasp because it's something that's big. It's not regular. It's not normal. If your homeboy comes to you and says he wants to spend his last $100,000 on, a bar, and he can get a loan for $250,000 and all of this, he got already paid somebody $2,000 to write the business plan. Of course you're gonna have a little fear and anxiety and worry for your homeboy because you don't want them to fail. You don't want them to be heartbroken. You don't want them to be calling you up 2 years from now crying on the phone, talking about they're about to lose their house and their girlfriend broke up with them. You know what I mean? That's normal. It's normal. But just don't put that negativity out there. And if you are prepared to tell people about what you want to do, just understand that that's going to come with it in a lot of situations, and maybe some situations, depending on who you tell. You might run into a man or a woman like me. They might pat you on the back and say, "Hell yeah, bro, do that." You don't need to be working that job because every week you always tell me about some bull stuff that your managers or your coworker did. So whatever you need, bro, I might not be able to be an investor or loan you anything or anything like that. But if you need some words of encouragement, that's the best thing. My bad. If you need me to give you a little bit of my time, I can help you with that. As far as you doing the research and you going deeper into, that realm and that universe of knowledge that you need to have to make this work. Okay, yes, it's appropriate to know the statistics on the failure rates and things like that, and how much money that you could possibly lose, and the success, the likelihood of you succeeding. But we're not focused on that right now because anybody could fail. Everything is a gamble. Being a doctor is a gamble. Like everything that you invest your time, and nothing in life is guaranteed. No matter how talented you are, no matter how many connections you might have, no matter how many hours you dedicate, how much capital you have behind this thing, how much you desire it, how much of a relationship you feel like you have with your higher power, there's nothing that's guaranteed in life as far as anything, to be honest. So I wouldn't discourage anybody. I wouldn't tell people I wouldn't give anybody any discouraging words. The most negative thing or discouraging thing that I might say or ask is probably going to be pertaining to research. Did you do the research? That's cool, man. That takes a lot of work, man. And I hope you know what you're getting yourself into. Oh, man, I'm glad to see that you're doing that, man. I hope you succeed. Or I might say that takes a lot of work, but you're a hardworking ass dude, so I know you could do it. That takes a lot of research. I could see you doing that. That takes a lot of research, but you're a smart guy. I could definitely see you succeeding in that area. But it's not your job to keep people grounded or discouraging people. And if you feel like that is, or if you feel like you're a jealous person, or if you feel like you have any kind of envy or haterism in you just because you're married to this woman that you don't necessarily like, and your kids are bad and you don't like them, and your job is something that you would not wish on your worst enemy, then you should probably just don't interact with people. Don't interact with anybody, especially if they have big dreams, especially if they have anything going on that you don't feel like you could do, because you're really only just going to make the situation worse. You might be the fuel behind them succeeding, but if that's not your actual pure intentions, then you're really just a monster, bro. You're really just the devil, to be honest. And everybody who has big dreams, that has endeavors that might be outside of the norm, whether you want to be a rapper, an actor, open a restaurant, or open a bar, or be a basketball player, football player, man, to be honest with you, it's strange to live in LA because I don't want to say everybody, a lot of people out here are trying to do that, become the world's most famous YouTuber and own a luxury car lot and all of that. Hey, the thing about it is, I'm from Atlanta, bro. And being from Atlanta, that's something that I can understand. Coming from Chicago and bouncing back and forth, where it's one place where have, people do try to pursue certain things, and it's in a lot less abundance because it's a lot less opportunity to the naked eye. But at the end of the day, just understanding the power behind belief and faith, coming between these three spots and seeing people actually make something of themselves with that imagination, dreamland mentality, just to see an adult grow and walk through life. I can't even lie, like a kid. Like just spending all your money to move somewhere where you have only been on vacation 2 or 3 times to be what you want to be and what you wanted to do ever since you were 4 years old. Very brave, very childish. And when I say childish, it's not a negative connotation behind when I say it. Of course, if you know the word of God, you do understand what I mean when I say that, you know. But at the end of the day, it's not something to be discouraged about, bro. It's something that's very special about that. Seeing somebody risk it all to do something that they wish they could do ever since they were a little kid. Somebody trying to actually merge the dreamland and the physical realm is very, it's always been weird. It's always going to be weird. Always. Especially when you're talking about doing it in a non traditional sense. Like a lot of people, it's this one person in particular I'm thinking about. I'm like, bro, how are you going to, you work in this kitchen, you want to open a restaurant, how are you going to do that? You want to start a YouTube video and cook and get the capital from doing that, open a restaurant. That's a very non traditional way of doing things. But it- at some point, it just stopped becoming so cringy because that's actually more practical, a lot more practical than it was 10 years ago, especially more than that, 15 years ago. People, I want to be an actor so I can get my own TV show like Lil Dicky. Like, hey, that's cool, bro. But at the end of the day, it's harder to, just to tell you. It's easier said than done when it comes to not being discouraged. But I will say this: the same, the same information I gave the people who tell people their dreams, you need to have that same energy. Just understand that when you tell somebody that you're going to step outside of the tradition and go to the adversarial part of life by doing what you want to do, by chasing your dreams and doing how you want to do life your own way, there's gonna there's gonna be a lot of um, static with that. There's gonna be a lot of friction telling people that you don't want to be like the man, and you just have to be prepared for that. If you can't take criticism and laughter and negative feedback about you following your path and following your dreams, how you want to do it, it's probably not meant for you because it's going to become very adversarial. It's going to have a lot of there's going to be a lot of adversity on your path, and you not being able to just hear negative words one time or a couple times, maybe a couple times a day, maybe even once a day, is not for you because it gets worse than that. Trust that. All right, that's all I gotta say, man. That's Aaron Moses. I'm the bang, you the bang, we the bang together, man. Life's in the breath. Breathe it in. Follow your dreams. Peace.